This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. Let's talk about the news. From Reuters, Israel appears to have been behind drone strike on Iran factory, U.S. official says. An overnight drone strike on a military factory in Iran last weekend seems to have been the work of the Israeli military, according to a U.S. official. Israel hasn't commented on the attack, but has historically retained the option to strike targets in Iran to slow the Iranian government's efforts to develop nuclear weapons. And Iranian officials have said they believe the attack was perpetrated by Israel, but that whomever did it, the attack won't dim their resolve to, quote, progress in our peaceful nuclear work, end quote. No casualties have been reported, and the 1 drone of 3 that made it through the defenses reportedly only caused minor roof damage to a workshop building. Talks to revive a 2015 nuclear deal with Iran have been stalled since September. From the Wall Street Journal, China's top nuclear weapons lab used American computer chips decades after ban. Despite its inclusion on a U.S. export blacklist back in 1997, Chinese state-owned institutions have reportedly been able to continue buying Intel and NVIDIA-made microchips. The China Academy of Engineering Physics has reportedly been able to buy these semiconductors from U.S. companies several times since 2020, allowing them to model nuclear explosions, study computational fluid dynamics, and perform other high-end simulation tasks. Denying them that capability was part of the rationale for putting these entities on a semiconductor-focused no-export blacklist in the first place. This is news because it suggests that although the Chinese government made a big to-do about the Biden administration's recent wave of chip-related export sanctions against the country, there's a non-zero chance that China will still be able to procure those goods with relative ease, and the sacrifices being made by US-based companies and companies in allied countries that have agreed to adhere to these sanctions will be in vain. And from the Financial Times, BP cuts long-term forecast for oil and gas demand. The fossil fuel-focused energy company BP has reduced its demand outlook for oil and gas in its latest forecast, dropping expected oil demand in 2035 by 5% and its expected gas demand that same year by about 6%. This is notable because this is a company that is incentivized to keep fossil fuels flowing as long as possible so they can wring more value from their existing assets before they become worthless, stranded assets and possibly even liabilities as the world changes over to renewables. So when they start to tell their shareholders that their fossil fuel assets are worth less, as demand will be dropping more steeply than they anticipated, that suggests the writing really is on the wall, and they've probably started making even more investments and preparations in whatever comes next than they've publicly divulged at this point. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com, and you can support this and other related projects like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts at understandery.com.